start for the morning. Next, I am excited to introduce to you Dr. Marvin Hogan. If you were here with us for our Fall Institute, you'll remember a little bit of his story. Sit wherever you're comfortable. He is a native Mississippian who is likely familiar to many of you. For the past 48, or is it 49 now? 48? 49 now. For the past 49 years, he has served in his current position as Executive Director of the award-winning human service agency, Friends of Children of Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. He received his bachelor's degree in economics and social studies at Rusk College in Mississippi and completed graduate work at the John E. Anderson Graduate School of Management at UCLA and Texas Tech University. He is married to Dr. Beverly Wade Hogan, and they are the proud parents of 2 sons. And his motto is, if you want something that you've never had, then you must do something that you've never done. And they have done some new and interesting and exciting things in the last few years that we're excited to hear about. Dr. Hogan.
Thank you. Good morning. Morning. First, I'd like to say thank you for the invitation, for the association for inviting me. I'm a country boy from Mississippi, and I'm very thankful being involved in such endeavor as we have here these next 2 days. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be a part of this kind of engagement. But I have to go back just a few minutes and let you know that when we think about 1960, when we first started with Head Start, that's when I said 1960. I know I don't see anybody in here that old, but I was around during that time, 1960. I was invited to come to, I was a head football coach at a community college, and I was invited to come to Jackson by my father. And in those days, when your father asked you something, you didn't dispute or deny that I didn't know anything about what I was going to have to do, but he invited me, to make a long story short, to Jackson. And when I got there, after 2 weeks, I asked them where was the books, and they said, books? We don't have any books. We don't have any money, so why do we have books? I said, what? So I called my father up and I asked him, I said, Dad, you didn't tell me these people didn't have any money. He said, you never asked me, but you better stay there. What I'm saying is that during that time I had a great obligation, and that was to reinstate a program that has been disenfranchised by the federal government and by the state. The state did not want Head Start. They did not want any part of Head Start. They did not want any part of education for anyone, especially African Americans. In those days, we were called black and colored, but now African American and whatever they want to call us. But anyway, and I'm not trying to be funny, that's just the way it was in those days. And when people decided that first was that challenge was few poverty programs would exist. And one, the oldest program at that time was Child Development Group of Mississippi, which was the first Head Start program in the nation. You can check that out if you want to in terms of history. And that is the first program that was organized, but they disenfranchised it, put it out of business. We had some powerful involved individuals such as Senator Stennis, who was the chairman of the Appropriation Committee, and also we had other persons like Sergeant Schreiber that I heard mentioned here today. They did not want Head Start to be around. So we had to prove that we were viable enough, that we were concerned enough, and that the parents wanted to have a part in what their children was doing. This was something prior to that. But anyway, there were some powerful people, such as Aaron Henry, such as Fannie Lou Hamer, such as other distinguished individuals in that state that was dedicated to making something happen. Well, we went about the business of making sure that if the children in Mississippi was going to have their parents involved, we had to do something different. So we decided to do things a little different. I know we all accustomed to all the standards and the requirements to 2,285 standards and everything, but we decided to do something a little different, and that is because we didn't have any money. We went 18 months with no federal or state money. And that have anything but donations and contributions. And as a result of that, we had very little staff that had education. And when I got there, being a college and a football coach and what have you, I just believed in certain principles that you're going to have an education if you're in the education field. So making a long story short, I started making it a requirement that everybody was going to have at least a high school diploma. They're going to have at least 2 years of college. They tried to run me out of the state, and they didn't want no part of it. But after a while, it became understandable to everyone because I had some friends at a community college. I had some friends at a major college, and we started getting people involved in going to school without any cost, and people just couldn't believe that. And now I'm proud to say that all of our teachers have degrees. All of our teaching associates have at least 2 years of college, and we have 32% of our staff with master's degree. So we know it can be possible. But anyway, when you think about our two-generation concept, we were doing something a little different. We didn't know anything about no two generation. We knew something about two, T-W-O, Tanner to work ownership. Tanner, you all heard of the Tanner situation, so that was what we were concerned. We were concerned with the people that was working for our program and the people that we were serving, families that we were serving. We are a program that's in 15 counties. We serve 3,900 children, Head Start, and 287 early Head Start. And we have 787 employees in a 15-county area, 38 sites, and we are in the heart of the Mississippi Delta. And I know if you live in the United States, you've heard of the Delta. So that's a terrible place, but it also is a rewarding place. We wanted to do something different again. So we adopted a philosophy of breaking the cycle of generational poverty. That's what we were going to do because we had witnessed parents not having a job, not being able to move up to a level. Yes, we had parent involvement, we had fatherhood, we had all those projects that the government was talking about that you have to be a qualified Head Start program. But we wanted to do something a little different to prove to the local citizens and to the state that we were different. So what are we going to try to do? So I said, well, let's come up with an idea of Tanner to work ownership. And the first requirement is we're going to have to make sure that people have good self-esteem, self-pride, self-respect. You just can't expect a mother, a parent, and when I say a mother first, is because 86% of the families that we serve are single female heads of household. I'm going to go back over that again. I'm not criticizing female because they made it possible for me to have a job. But 86% have my job, have 86% have single female heads of household. We only could find 7 men in the last 5 years that would stand up to the plate. You know what they're doing. They're running from child support. Don't be weird. They're doing that in every state. But what we were trying to do was try to show people that we can do something different, and that is try to give them some self-respect, self-pride, self-esteem. So that's the first process that we engage the parents in doing, is that self-pride and self-respect. And when they come from that period of 8 weeks of self-pride and self-respect, then we engage them in some type of program that they decide they want to be involved in, whether it be phlebotomy, whether it be nurse assistants, whether it be nurse aide, whether it be cement finish, drywall, or tile. Whatever they wanted to do, we could do that for them. We could assist them. And we said we had learned something, that if a child is in a well-defined Head Start program and the mother is at home doing nothing, you got a gap. You got a big gap because the mother is not doing anything at home but the child. So you want to get the child involved, or get the mother involved in the child's activity, but she's stressed. She's strung out, trying to figure how am I going to make ends meet? How am I going to not only just receive TANF assistance, but what are they going to do for their life? So we said, we're going to break this cycle in order that we can make sure that the next generation coming on would not see the same thing. So we involved them in that type activity. Then we started a 16-week training program. And as a result of that 16-week training program, we secured persons that were formerly unemployed to be as trainers, but now have acquired their degrees and have gone back to school and secured that. And we put them in training. We didn't have any funds, but we started begging. Now, I don't know whether you all know anything about begging. We know how to beg. We went 18 months with no money, so I said, we sure can do a 16-week program begging. So we start going around to various agencies, going around to the local banks, going around to the local agencies in the city and the town and the county, and asking them for any resources. And may I say this to any of you who may be thinking about doing something that you don't have federal or state money, is the fact that make sure you have a clear understanding of how much money you're going to need. And you're going to make that primarily your first entry and let them know that you are there. We are a private, nonprofit corporation operating in the state of Mississippi. And this is our 48th year of service. We've served 139,000 children in the state of Mississippi since we've been in existence. And Mr. and Miss, and I'm talking to the people that I'm begging, we have no funds right now, and we are trying to ask you for XYZ amount of dollars. To do what? To assist people in lifting themselves out of poverty. Now, you've heard of poverty, so that's what we're trying to do. And as a result of that, we secured some support, unbelievable support. The first one took me 2 years to get a local bank. And a local bank came forward and donated $50,000 to the agency to assist us in raising that level of awareness. We went 50-mile radius of the county, in a 50-mile radius in the county, and found all the possible placement that we could place people in terms of working. We wanted to know what were they looking for, what type person, not just an African American, Hispanic, or white, or whatever. We want to know the class, do you have to have this, do you have to have that, so we can inform the persons that you're going to have to be better than just going to school. You're going to have better than just training. You're going to have some self-pride, some self-respect. You're going to have to show people, and you're going to have to sell yourself. And the first time I said that, person told me, Dr. Hogan, look here now, I'm not on those streets now. I'm not going to sell myself. I said, I'm not talking about that. I said, but when you get through with the training, you're going to have to understand that you're going to have to feel good about yourself, and you're going to have to be able to express how you feel that way about yourself, and people will accept you, not because you had a degree. They're going to want to know whether you have that achievement. So we knew after we went that survey, and then we found out that once persons go to school or go to training, when they come out of training, we found out that we had to do something else to the individual. We had to find a place for those persons to really be employed. So we went back to some of those agencies that we had surveyed, and we knew we'd place them. And like Nissan plant was there. We have 37 people working at Nissan, and we knew what they were looking for. We sent them that way, and they got employed. We went to another place. We had health service places when people got trained in health career. We knew how to get them in because we had already talked to the people about what they were looking for, and we had the person standing there, and we knew they could sell themselves, and they didn't worry about me saying sell yourself. They were employed, and they got employed. And after a person get employed, we finally found that there was something else missing, and that persons had to have a way to get to work. That was a big deterrent, getting to work. So we decided to go back to this bank and ask them for some assistance, and we found out that they were ready to do that to assist us. Because here's the cliche. We were depositing money in their bank. You understand what I'm saying? They were not only just making a contribution, but we had customers. So we had all of our employees and also the participants, some 600 people going to the bank to deposit money in the bank. So they became good customers for the bank. So the bank assisted us, and we chartered a bus to transport people to work each morning. We do that for 6 months. 6 months after that, if you can't find a way to get to work, you're in bad shape. But we're going to transport you. It doesn't cost you anything. But one of the joys that I've had, that I've said right to you now, is the fact that when you think about this, right now we have 45 young ladies saving money for the first time in their life. Now that's awesome. I'm talking about came from unemployed, underemployed, and now saving money. We started an IDA account. I know you, all you family service workers and all Head Start directors, y'all heard of IDAs, but that's something a little more unique about that IDA. We had a process whereby we assist with dollar per dollar for the first 500, 2 to 1, the second 500, and 3 to 1 up to 1,500. You can do one of three things: down payment on a house, educational opportunities for yourself or your children, a piece of equipment if you decide to go in business. And the reason I brought that in business because we have 21 young ladies that are in business for themselves that previously were not employed. They are doing various opportunities that they have been employed. Average income last year was $46,000. We know they were making it because we do their taxes. So we know they're making it. And we just got excited about here these persons unemployed 3 or 4 years ago and now have their own business in terms of detail shops, cement finish, drywall, tile. And the young ladies voted on the fourth thing. I said 3, now I'm talking about 4. Fourth, guess what the fourth one was? Purchase a car. They wanted to purchase a car. They said, Dr. Hogan, we can't get to work if we don't have transportation. And you only going to assist us for 6 months, so we'll be out of work. We can't get to work. So we started making it possible that they could purchase a car with their IDA funds. And the local bank came up with an idea, and they provided an individual that would assist the persons who wanted to do that with managing money, financial literacy we call it, teaching them how to save, how to invest, how to place their money in places where they had never even heard of before. And that's when I said 40 plus persons are now saving for the first time. And this bank has gotten so excited about the idea. He called me just 3 months ago and said, Dr. Hogan, I want you to go to another county. I got another bank I want you to take out. I said, well, just go right ahead. What you got in mind? He said, well, I got a little extra money, and I want you to go in another county and start the same program. What am I saying? I'm not saying anything that I'm looking for credit or recognition or what have you, because I'm old and I'm worried about, but I want to make a difference in the lives of children and families. I want to see people in our state show, not because of their race, creed, color, or sex, or national origin, is the fact that they see that we have something that's worthy. You never were a part of Head Start, but now Head Start is doing more than just working with children. It's working with the family. And they are excited about it because they are now investing in with us. And by the way, it took us 33 years to get public schools to work with us, ladies and gentlemen. They wouldn't work with us. They would not work with us. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know what was wrong. I said, good gracious, excuse me for being personal. My mother was a school teacher. My wife is the president of a college. I said, God, all my life I've been around education. What is it? You know what? They didn't want to let it be known what they were not doing. You know, I don't know maybe y'all have some good schools places. We have some pitiful schools in Mississippi, and I say that openly and on record. Pitiful. You know what it was? It was the fact that, see, they were always claiming that children get out of Head Start and then they decline. After, you know the research is out there. After 3 years, it fades. But they don't ask the question, what are you doing to keep them elevated to another level? What are you doing in the public school? So I finally found out that what I had to do, they didn't want to accept me. And that's what it was. And excuse me for being personal, but I'm being real and I'm talking facts. I finally found me a white person who was a former professor, and I went to the schools. I had been to the school just 3 weeks before. I went there with him, and make a long story short, I went in there, and as soon as I walked in, Dr. Hogan, who did you have with you? I said, well, I'm not going to call his name in here, but anyway, I said, he's working with you? Yes. Oh, he's working with you? Well, come on in then. Come on in, share this. So we signed an agreement, a partnership, and now we have 31 schools that's working with us. 31 schools that's working with. I'm not talking about partnerships. I'm talking about blending service. 26 of the schools where a Head Start teacher and a public school teacher are working side by side in the school. A public school teacher and a Head Start teacher are working side by side in the Head Start Center. That was unheard of 30 years ago. Unheard of. Now they're working side by side. But now we are also transitioning those children into the public school because we get the curriculum a year before they go into public school. So we are teaching the same thing that they are expecting in the school. So these partnerships will work, but what we are so happy to say to you this evening is this. 90% of the 750 persons that we've trained in the last 4 years have either gotten a job, gone back to school, or gone to college, or started their own business. And we just think that is awesome when you think about success. 82%, 812 of the parents are involved in job training, and we have 827 people on the waiting list right now. We don't have places for them because they've heard about the success. And when people hear about success, they coming. So the only thing I say to you, don't get upset when you hear about success. Don't get upset when you hear about the dilemma. We say face the challenge with confidence. You've come too far from where you started. Nobody told you the road was going to be easy, but I just know he wouldn't have leave you down to bring you this far. So I say to this, look at social capital, look at health and well-being, look at education, look at economic support, look at family engagement. All this is necessary. And I'd like to close by saying this little old statement I wrote down sometime ago that said, I would like to close by leaving you with the word remember, an expression by Kevin Levin. Your destiny is not time. This is not a time to get distracted. This is not a time to go off course. This is not a time to close your focus. You've come too far, and you can't afford to lose now because you have too much to gain. And you know what's so excited about it? Is when you walk through the mall or another place of business and somebody call your name out. Hey, Mr. Hogan, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you what you did for my mother. Thank you what you did for my father. That's where you get joy. It's not the paycheck every day. It's when you get joy when people say something that you have assisted them in lifting them up to another level in their life. That's where you get a lot of success. Thank you very much.
said that you started your group off with an 8-week training related to self-respect and self-esteem. Was there a particular curriculum you were using, or was that self-created?
We asked a former participant in our program to come up with the idea and also to be the instructor.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't develop, just a structured curriculum. We talk about, what made them feel down and that's what we engaged in.
And how long were they, how many hours a week were the sessions?
2 days a week.
2 days a week.
2 days a week.
Great,
Right.
thank you.
2 days a week.
And I'll just add, we got to read some letters from the participants when these folks applied, and it was really impressive for this program, but particularly how the mothers had absorbed that language and used it to talk about the program and to talk about that self-esteem that they developed. Other questions? Right here.
You talked about not having funding for your program for a long time. Can you talk about how you engage staff to work without funding?
Yes. As I said, I'm not trying to make it feel like I have so much on tap, but in those days there was so much commitment. And I, being a former football coach, I believe in convincing people to do things when you didn't even think you could do it, because I was a winner. I'm gonna brag now. I'm saying I was a winner. First year that I was coaching, I lost out. But when I got the Friends of Children, and we went 18 months with no federal or state money, only donations and contributions, mostly came from churches and local organizations, and that was it. My salary was 50 cents an hour. Staff was 35 cents. That's the fact. That's facts. That's true. But after a while, when people saw what we were trying to do, and we treat people with respect, with pride, that we wanted them to let them prove that they were going to do something that would be beneficial. People were committed to work. Now, nobody there today, after 40-some years, you know that. But you couldn't get nobody to work when you didn't have any money. But we started, and that's a campaign of begging. People don't like to hear you say begging, but what else? Soliciting. Whatever you're gonna do, all I want to do is try to get something. And here's the strategy. Here's the strategy that we employ. You know someone, and everyone knows someone, so that's 4 people right there. So how come you can't go and ask that person to assist you in convincing someone to make a contribution? And it was contributions, donations. And we had some foundation funding, came after the 18 months. Thank you, baby.
Good morning. You talked about your graduate or the families you were serving going into different kinds of industries, automobiles and healthcare. Who was doing the training in your program for all those different kinds of?
We had partnerships with community colleges. We had partnerships with major colleges. We had partnership with job training programs. All those individuals, and didn't cost us anything because they knew what we were trying to do. So my good friend is the president of community college, which is called Community College, Dr. Clyde Muse. I don't mind to say, call his name out. He would want me to do that because now you heard what the president said the other night about community colleges being free. So we talked about it, and he provided us with training through his program, through his school, and that's what assisted us in getting up the ladder, and also for other training. Vocational training programs were there. They provided the training to the person. If you wanted to be a phlebotomist, if you wanted to be an auto mechanic, you want to be a carpenter, any kind of trade, you'd go there. We have a good relationship because I've been around a long time. And I'm not bragging. It's just you try to have good. I tell the staff all the time, have a good relationship with people. Organizations. They don't understand what you're trying to do, but you can still have a good relationship, because you never know when you're going to need them. They're going to come back someday, and it may be beneficial to the whole organization, and that's what you do. And then you try to get people to write those people and let them know how much you appreciate what you're doing. Thank you very much.